What is the history of land inequality in Brazil? Have you ever wondered how land inequality in Brazil came to be? This issue has deep roots that stretch back to the colonial era and still impacts society today. The story begins with the Portuguese colonization when the crown granted large estates known as sesmarias. These land grants typically ranged from 16.7 to 50.1 square miles. The goal was to develop the land for sugar export, which required significant labor. Initially, this labor came from indigenous peoples, and later, African slaves were used. This system led to the creation of large landholdings called latifundia. Land ownership became concentrated in the hands of a few wealthy families. This established a social order based on slavery and export agriculture that lasted for centuries. Even as Brazil moved toward abolishing slavery in the 19th century, the latifundia system continued to dominate. During the Empire period from 1822 to 1889, land policy did little to redistribute land or challenge the power of large landowners. Most rural workers remained landless or held only small, unproductive plots. This situation made it difficult for them to produce food or improve their living conditions. In the 20th century, especially during the military dictatorship from the 1960s to the 1980s, the countryside saw a so-called modernization. However, this modernization actually reinforced land inequality. The government supported large agribusinesses with rural credit and promoted mechanization. This favored large landowners and marginalized small farmers and rural workers. Many peasants, sharecroppers, and rural migrants found themselves increasingly excluded from land access. In response to this entrenched inequality, the landless workers movement, known as MSD, formed in 1984. The MSD emerged from the struggles of rural workers in southern Brazil who were deprived of land and rights. This movement became a major advocate for agrarian reform, land redistribution, and social justice. The MSD organized large-scale occupations of unproductive latifundia, creating settlements for landless families to live and work together. Their slogan, "Without agrarian reform, there is no democracy," reflects their belief that true democracy in Brazil requires addressing land concentration. The MSD's actions, along with the wave of democratization in Brazil during the 1980s, brought greater attention to land inequality. The movement's efforts helped push agrarian reform onto the national agenda, leading to some redistribution of land titles to hundreds of thousands of families. These families formed relatively autonomous rural communities, practicing cooperative agriculture and challenging large landowners. Despite these advances, land inequality remains a major issue in Brazil. The legacy of colonial land grants, slavery, and the latifundia system still influences rural social structures. The struggle for land is closely tied to broader issues of social justice, indigenous rights, and the defense of collective land and nature. The MSD and similar movements continue to advocate for a more equitable distribution of land as a foundation for social and economic change in Brazil.